Welcome to Breakfast Ideas, and as you can see there's lots of different options for breakfast lying out in front of us here. So what we're going to look at first is one option, which is just an oatmeal. So what I use is gluten-free rolled oats, and as we've covered previous, that a life without gluten I think is more optimal and it's more healthy. And even though I don't have a gluten intolerance, I still go for the gluten-free if I can. And I found out the other day that oats are actually naturally gluten-free, and it's just where they're grown and the temperatures that they're grown in. So I reckon you could get Bob's Red Mill oats in most parts of the world, because I can get these here from the UK. So what I tend to do with most of my grains as well is I pre-soak them for up to 4 to 8 hours, and that changes the structure of the and it starts activating if it's a seed or a nut or something like that. So everything I try and pre-soak before I start to have it, and it's easier to digest, I've found. So with oats, I just literally soak them in water. I don't use any nut milks, I just soak them in water, and then I'll cook them. And with my particular oats, what I also add in is a few drops of stevia just to sweeten it up. And the brand of stevia that I use is Stevia, and that's the one that you'll find in Hippocrates, but you can get stevia powders and they're really handy to have with you. So I actually have a stevia sort of container that I put in my rucksack. So if I have a cup of tea and I fancy something sweet, I'll put a few drops of stevia in as well. And to make the oats taste a bit better and trying to get more nutrients into it, I've actually started adding some ground turmeric, and I also popped some cinnamon in there as well. Now another breakfast which I really loved but I can't have anymore, and that's Buckwheaties. And with these Buckwheaties, you can actually, these are all soaked, they're sprouted, and then they're dehydrated. So you can see on this clip here that they've actually got little tails. And so they're sprouted Buckwheaties. And what happens with those is I used to put sort of a half a cup in a NutriBullet container, and I used to make a turmeric sort of buckwheat milk. And I used to make it quite thick. And into that I used to add a bit of Udo's oil, I used to add some turmeric, I used to add some cinnamon, and it made a nice sort of thick, sort of creamy milk. And then I used to put a sprinkle of these on, and that would be like the crunch, a bit like a Rice Krispie experience if you've had Rice Krispies before. And I really loved that, and obviously stevia to sweeten it up. And unfortunately, when I had my a test that is testing to see which foods I'm intolerant to or creates an inflammatory response in the body, I learned that buckwheat was one of those sort of grains that it wasn't like I felt it, but inside the body it's creating an inflammatory response, an inflammatory response in the body. And so it's like a chronic form of inflammation which I can't feel, so I don't have buckwheat anymore, as with Brazil nut. So buckwheaty porridge is a really cool thing to do, and in time I'll add recipes to show you how I actually created that as we develop the academy. The next one is chia seed porridge, and if you Google chia seed porridge ideas or chia seed desserts, what you'll find is that they soak chia seeds in a nut milk. Now in the food combining, we went through the fact that you want to keep your fats, your proteins and your carbs together. So as chia seed is seen as a protein, protein focused, then you have the chia seed with some kind of nut milk. You wouldn't have chia seed with buckwheat milk, and you wouldn't have nut milk with Buckwheaties. So that's if you want to really sort of dial down in. I know my wife, she still has oats with some Buckwheaties and some kind of muesli with a nut milk, and she's fine. I choose not to do that, but what works for you will work for you. So I'm opting for the optimal approach given my personal situation. And occasionally I do crave a bit of nice granola or something like that, but I try and stay consistent as I can through this journey. So chia seed porridge is another good one. And in the chia seed porridge, what I tend to do, again, is make it more of a sweet experience. And that will be added in the cinnamon, turmeric, and stevia as well. And with the chia seeds, you can either add it to the bowl, put the nut milk in, and just leave it for maybe 20 minutes, half an hour, giving it a good stir to make sure all the seeds are coated in the milk. And you'll see that it goes a bit of a slop. And you know, it's an acquired taste, I think. I personally like it, and a lot of people I know like it, but it's a bit like Marmite, I guess. Some people love it and some people hate it. So that's the chia seed porridge. And with the porridges, I also drop a tiny bit of seaweed in as well, just to try and get more of those minerals into the body. So that's the chia seed experience. Now, with chia seed porridge or dessert, you can, you know, as I said, you can have it after a dinner if you fancy a sweet treat or something like that. And if you fancied, you can chop some berries up. But again, you know, fruit's best to have separate to anything else if you want to stay optimal. But if you don't mind combining a bit of fruit into a chia seed breakfast, then again, that's an option as well. So some of my favorite breakfasts, and another option for breakfast is just have some steamed broccoli or something. But one of my favorites, one of my go-tos is organic millet. And again, I soak the millet and then I cook it a bit like a porridge for about 10 or 15 minutes until it's nice and well cooked and not too crunchy. But I really love millet, and occasionally I'll use quinoa as well. And again, these are just, you know, consistent grains that I now use quite a lot. And so I might make that as a side for one of the lunch or dinners. But with the breakfast, I just literally soak and cook the grain. And then I'll add a bit of oil, either olive oil, and that's raw olive oil. Then you've got Udo's oil, which I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but do some research on Udo's. Udo Erasmus is a lovely man. I've met the guy, and he's created a plant-based omega oil, which has got the right balance of 3, 6, and 9, omega-3, 6, and 9. So again, add a bit of oil. I put a bit of Bragg's liquid aminos in. I'll put some chilies. I'll put some turmeric. I'll add some of the real thing, turmeric or ginger. And then that creates another breakfast option for you. And I also put some sprinkles of seaweed, and also a few sprinkles of garlic granules as well. So they're the main options that I use for breakfast. Later on in the Academy development, we're going to add individual videos for each of these recipes. So thank you for watching, and we'll move on to protein shakes next.